Vice, you dumbass! Start making sense, you rotten book, or you're gonna be sorry. Maybe I'll rip your pages out one by one, or maybe I'll put you in the goddamn furnace. How can someone with such a big smart brain get hypnotized like a little bitch, huh? Oh, Shadow Lord, I love you, Shadow Lord. Come over here and give Vice a big sloppy kiss, Shadow Lord. Now pull your head out of your goddamn ass and start fucking helping us!
Hello there, Internet! Version 2 here with the best way to start a video. This is NieR, because there is more to do here. Oh boy, is there more to do here. Anyway, what you're watching right now is the introduction of the game. This is the thing that plays when you load up the game. And boy oh boy, is there some spoilers in this shit. Notice how much of this is straight up from the Shadow Lord's castle? Hell, that scene that's there, we haven't even seen yet. There's still technically spoilers here, but they're minor. Look! Shadow Lord's castle! And hey, it's the attack on the village! And hey, it's more of the attack on the village! And hey, more of the attack on the village! And more of it. And hey, look! A spoiler of like this perspective shift thing. And the castle himself was actually super early on. And the block boss! And the asshole boss! And attacking the shit out of it. And Kainé getting super fucking pissed. And bullet hells. And that thing, you remember how that ended? Yeah, that ended really well for everyone involved. And hey, look! It's Yonah giving up replicant Yonah's body. And look, it's the video game boss. And look, it's the robot. And hey, it's one of those ones there. And it's Kainé dying one of the times that she died. Man, there's a lot of spoilers in this. Oh boy, is there a lot. Let's just show off, like, every boss just getting fucking owned, and also a lot of the character things that end up with people just getting fucking owned. Hey, look, that's a little bit of the scene that we were seeing before. And hey, it's that one dying when we hit it, and kind of kicking us in the face. And hey, look, it's the final boss. It's straight up the final boss. And hey, look. It's us being the heroes. And look, it's more of this scene that we saw earlier. And look, it's Vera, dead. And last time that we saw Kainé in the end there, talking as she walks away. And as it makes sense, showing how the whole fucking thing started. And look, it's Weiss as he's about to give up his life. So many spoilers, and it's why you can't show it at the beginning of the actual LP. Because holy fucking shit, there's so many! Oh my god, just straight up multiple scenes of the final, like, area of the game and the final fucking boss. So point is, as you saw, we have ending B to get to. Which the game said that we could load up the clear game and go from Kainé's perspective. I'll tell you right now, no, we don't play as Kainé. It couldn't be that good, but it is still very, 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 very much worth playing. So, let's play through the game again. Don't worry, it's not the whole game. In fact, this will be hardly any length of time at all. This will be 3 to 4 episodes, if that. No, actually, no. It won't be more than 4. It physically can't be more than 4. And just time-wise. Like, if it was going to be more than 4, some of the episodes would be 10 minutes. This first episode, though, watch this one, because this one will be interesting.
Whenever I interacted with Kainé,
because we're starting from here.
Reminded about
not from the very beginning of the game.
Maybe my mind has been confusing her with my sister this whole time.
Sister that you're currently merged
Here
with.
we go.
Never undid the petrification on your castle, though, Amelia. Always found that weird. I mean, you have the power to do this, but you didn't do it for your castle. Kainé's dream, discrimination. And, if you remember what dreams were in this game before, ready for another sequence of reading. The sounds of rain filled the village. The steep cliffs that surrounded the area magnified sounds, causing even the slightest drizzle to rattle like a thunderstorm. Thin wisps of smoke streamed from huts as the villagers huddled in their homes and waited out the rain. A single child, however, had braved the downpour and was now wandering slowly toward the wooden, hawk-shaped weather vane at the center of town. The wanderer reached the vane, which had existed for as long as anyone could remember, and stared. The child's face was simultaneously delicate and fierce, like a teacup that had survived a shipwreck. Those traits combined with pale white skin to give the face an almost sexless quality. If the beak turns east, I go home. If it stays west, then The child blinked. Rain slowly dripped down the young one's short hair and began its long descent to the ground. Come on, come on! The child felt a slight breeze and watched as the vein slowly creaked to life. Spinning this way and that for a moment, it finally settled with the beak pointing firmly toward the east. East? Really? Before the vein could move again, a jagged rock came spinning and tumbling through the air, finally striking home against the child's head. The force of the blow dropped the child to the ground as a hail of stones began to fall all around. Oh no, they found me. A heartbreaking smile crept across the child's face as the stones continued their assault. Through the rain, the sound of multiple footsteps grew louder before a voice rang out. Yoo-hoo, Kainé! The voice belonged to Demo, worst of all the bullies in the area. As Kainé struggled to stand, a final stone came skittering through the mud and bounced against her foot. And shut the fuck up, PS4. I'm in the middle of reading here. Blood oozed from a cut above her and blurred her vision, but she could make out the shapes of Demo and his usual gang of idiots. The boy seemed taken aback for a moment by Kainé's seeming indifference to the blood dripping from her face, but quickly regained his bravado. What's up, freak? You like the rain? You getting all wet? Or did you finally decide to run away from home? Though she knew it was futile, Kainé turned to leave. Before she could get more than a few steps, the other kids scrambled to surround her, cruelty burning in their eyes. Kainé knew those were not the only eyes on her. The tormentor's parents watched from the safety of their homes. She was attuned to this sensation. It was the one she had experienced many times before. While some villagers simply turned a blind eye to the actions of their children, many encouraged it openly. In a society ruled by superstition and fear, Kainé was something to be hated and, if possible, destroyed. I didn't say you could leave, freak! Demo's words chewed at her like a worm through an apple. He can't hurt me, she lied to herself. Be strong, be brave. He can't hurt me, he can't hurt me, he can't hurt... Oh look, the little freak's gonna cry. What's wrong? Are you sad that everyone hates you and wants you dead? Kainé prayed for the rain to flood down and carry her away from a world that seemed to have no place for her. Yeah, the area fucking sucks. No wonder she doesn't like the place. But if there were gods, they chose to ignore her. As Demo crept ever closer, the clouds began to thin and the rain slowed. Even the weather hates me. I'm useless. A failure. I wish Demo's rock had taken my head off. Kainé couldn't meet Demo's leering gaze. She lowered her eyes and stared at the muddy grounds below. The bully moved forward until he was inches away. She could smell the scent of old meat on his breath. The boy grabbed Kainé's face with thick fingers and yanked it upward. She tried to turn away, but he forced her gaze back and jammed his thumb against her eyelid to pry it open. You're a freak. No, I'm not. Did you just say no? Demo grinned evilly. You don't say no to me. No one says no to me. Not even taking his attention from Kainé, he called to his cohorts. Come on, guys. Let's give the freak what she deserves. As soon as Demo finished, kicks and blows began to rain down upon Kainé. Demo paused, still grinning, as Kainé curled into a ball and tried to make the pain stop. I don't get you, freak. What you acting like a girl for, huh? Everyone knows what you really are. Kainé ignored the question, choosing instead to stare at the weather vane. It continued to point east, as if supremely confident about the future it had chosen for her. Go home? Yeah, that's a funny joke for someone with dead parents and no home to go to. Freak! Chanted the children. Freak! 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 Kainé closed her eyes and listened to the rain, waiting for the pain to start again. As the clutching hands of the village children closed around her, she bent her mind to the sound of the rain, letting it become her world entire. The rain fell, but the pain never came. Only when the laughter of her tormentors turned to terrified cries did she dare open a single blood-caked eye. Kainé was shocked to see Demo sprawled on the ground, holding his head and screaming in pain. She could see blood welling from the spaces between his fat, twisted fingers. Oh my god, he's crying! He's actually crying! Deprived of their leader, the other children glanced back and forth between themselves, as if waiting for someone to step forward and take charge. When no savior emerged, they began an uneasy shuffle away from Kainé. But the young girl was the least of their concerns. Instead, their attention was wrapped on the ancient woman standing a few feet away. After struggling for breath for a moment, she finally spoke in a voice thick with rage. Hurts like a bitch, don't it? Now I suggest you scatter before I throw another one. And if any of you little bastards ever touch my Kainé again, I'll do far worse than throw a rock. You can count on it. The old woman crouched down and gently touched the hand Dima was used to cover the wound. Fuck yeah! Oh, it's so good! Before he could think to protest, she ground her palm into the wound and twisted back and forth. Ow! He screams, leaping to his feet. Stop it! What are you doing? Quit whining, ain't no one ever died from a scratch. You hit me with a rock, you stupid bitch. A big one. That thing could have killed me. The old woman shrugged. Death is the best cure for stupid. Dima's face twisted with rage at her words. Locking his eyes on Kainé, he took a step backward and spat on the ground. Get out! Leave this village! No one wants you here! Either of you! Seeing the old woman grab another stone, Dima and his companions turned tail and ran. As they fled, the old woman grabbed her side and barked out a single laugh. Ha! Look at the fat boy go. Guess he's healthy enough to run from a fight. The woman smiled as she turned her attention to Kainé. Kneeling down, she removed her shawl and placed it around the young girl's shoulders, then produced a cloth from the folds of her dress and began blotting at the blood on her forehead. Oh, Kainé, she said, why didn't you fight back? You're stronger than that lot. The words of her grandmother stung Kainé, and she turned away. Don't be nice to me, she said. I don't deserve it. Nothing matters anymore. Her tears, held in cheek for so long, finally began to fall on the muddy ground below. Everyone hates me. They think I cause bad things to happen. They think I'm a freak. I wish I was dead. As Kainé's tears turned to sob, she felt her grandmother's hands on her shoulders. Despite her advanced age and diminutive size, she was a woman of surprising strength, and Kainé found herself unable to turn away. Don't talk to her like that, Kainé. It's a river wide and deep that flows between the realms of this world and the next, and it grants no mercy to any that attempt to cross it. You got a duty to fight until your last breath. Understands? The old woman tightened her grip and tried to still the tremor in her voice. You know the pain of losing someone You know the pain of losing someone close to you, Kainé. You know because you survived it. So I'm just gonna take this moment to remind everyone of the boss fight that we had against the giant fucking evil lizard thing that was in the area, one of the shades that is actually straight up a dick because it was trying to pretend to be Kainé, saying, Kainé, give up. And now this makes a little bit more sense of why Kainé fucking lost it and got like fueled with rage against that. The idea of the grandmother saying give up on life? Ooh. As the words hit home, Kainé was struck by the force of her love for the old woman. As a young child, she didn't even know of her grandmother, but when her parents died, the woman quickly accepted her as her own. Grandma, as Kainé called her, was cunning, vulgar, and quick to violence, and their first few years together had not been easy. This also explains why Kainé is the way that she is. Why she is a violent, impulsive, and incredibly foul-mouthed person, and why she's amazing. But with each year that passed, Kainé and her grandmother had grown closer. However, it was only now, sitting in the mud with tears and blood caking her face, that Kainé truly understood the depths of her affection. Here was a woman who had seen hard times, who had seen death, who had fought through all these things and somehow emerged on the other side. If anyone could understand Kainé's pain and loneliness, it was her. Do I make you sick, Grandma? Course not, don't be an ass. Kainé drew her grandmother's moth-eaten shawl around her body and shuddered. But my body, it's not normal. If I was normal, then Mom and Dad wouldn't. Hush, interrupted Grandma. I won't hear another word of this nonsense. My screen cut out, so I wasn't sure what happened. You're my granddaughter, and I love you. And if folks have a problem with that, they can go to hell. With that, the old woman reached out and placed a wreath of dried flowers in Kainé's hair. The skill it took to bend the flowers without breaking the stems or losing a single petal was remarkable, and the beauty of it made Kainé want to cry all over again. Oh my gosh, these are lunar tears! Grandma, you made this for me? Lunar tears were legendary flowers. Most people could live their entire lives without ever seeing one, and yet her grandmother had somehow collected a dozen or more. Kainé reached up and touched the wreath as if she couldn't believe it was real. Where did you find these? And again, remind you about... So I'm reminding of things that we're not gonna see again because, like, where we saw of Emile freeing Kainé from her petrification, we're playing the game from that point on. And a lot of what is happening here is things that happened in the first half of the game, so I've got to, step back and explain those. Again, what was the first sentence that we heard Kainé speak in this game? Hands off the flowers. When we go to touch the lunar tear reef that is in her little hut, it's because it's a reef that her grandmother made. And why Kainé always wears a lunar tear in her hair. Oh, you know, just stumbled on him one day while I was out doing the shopping. Old woman turned away as she was explaining, leading Kainé to suspect that the search had been much more difficult than she was letting on, given their lunar tears. I gave up on making one because it was so difficult. Because I knew I'd have another playthrough chance to do it. The pain... that's why I also gave up on doing the weapon grinding, because I know I can do it again here. The pain she took to construct the ornament, let alone track down the flowers used in its construction, made Kainé's heart hurt. She reached up and gently adjusted the wreath, admiring the way it felt between her fingers. Didn't quite turn out right, said her grandmother as she squinted at it. These old hands have trouble with delicate work, but it sure looks good on a pretty girl like you. Kainé blushed and turned away. You think I'm pretty? Of course you are. What a fool thing to say. Thank you, Grandma. Her grandmother smiled. We're gonna be fine, you and me, she said. Long as we got each other, we'll be just fine. Kainé took her grandmother's hands in hers, and the two of them struggled to their feet. As they began the long walk home, Kainé gripped their hands with all her might, as if trying to stop smoke from drifting away on the winds. The rain had stopped. Kainé stood beneath the weather vane, watching it spin in lazy circles, no longer caring about the direction it faced when it stopped. I don't need to escape. I have a home now. Grandma loves me, and that's enough. Even if it's just us against the world. Kainé let her gaze drift up past the vane and on into the cloudy sky. The last faint hints of a rainbow were slowly fading. As she turned and headed for home, the light scattered into a million particles and vanished, seemingly taken away on the breeze. Kainé's dream. Daily life. Cut to the daily life introduction from Danga. Oh, fuck it. It's a visual novel, and this is just a straight up novel. It kind of works. Should I title this episode Let's Read? It's really tempting, but I won't. But it is tempting. In the distance, Kainé heard the steady sounds of an axe striking wood. The noise had a purposeful quality to it, as if she was hearing a master wordsman go on about his work. The firewood being produced, however, was as far from work of art as could be. Pieces of every shape and size were being flung about a barren yard with wild abandon. Anyone trying to stack such wood would probably die of frustration before the job was through. Stupid piece of shit axe! Kainé's grandmother flailed away with the axe, filling the air with those splinters of wood and words that would make the most hardened sailor blush. Grandma, called Kainé. What? You're the old woman taking her eyes off the wood for a moment. Oh, it's you, Kainé. Don't get too close or I might take your goddamn foot off by mistake. She brought the axe down on a piece of wood, sending chips flying in every direction. One spun past Kainé close enough for her to hear the whistle, at which point she decided to step back. Once she scuttled to a safe distance, she cupped her hands around her mouth and shouted, Grandma! Do you need help? I can get you water or lunch or a new axe or something. The axe, poised to strike another wobbly blow, paused in midair. The old woman considered her granddaughter's offer for a moment, then smiled. Tell you what, since I've done such a piss-poor job at shopping, why don't you come here and take over so I can go get the water? Shade's a bit restless lately, you know, and I don't want you running into one of them bastards. Relinquishing the axe, her grandmother picked up a long pole with wooden buckets on either end. Gathering water was by far the most difficult of the two jobs, but Kainé knew better than to complain. Once Grandma's mind was set, there was no change in it. Kainé did her best to help with chores, but Grandma took every task that required travel to the village. Though she had a long list of plausible excuses, Kainé knew the real reason. She didn't want her granddaughter to be taunted and harassed by the villagers. Because they're still a bunch of cunts. Once Kainé moved in, Grandma decided to take up residence in a good distance from the area. Out of sight, out of mind seemed to be the best policy when it came to the villagers and her granddaughter, and rare were the days when any but the two of them could be found on rocky acre of lands they called home. So you know how we had that situation before of what is the one village where we kill every single person in the village? The Airy. And the game goes out of its way during that moment to try and justify that not too big of a loss and I'm okay doing all of that. Because it's like, you killed a bunch of people, a lot of innocent people, yeah. But they made you kill the most arsehole-ish, dickish people to make you feel more comfortable with it, so you can realize what a fucking monster you are. Because they don't give positives to people in the area pretty much at all. Like, the one thing where it's just like, we're actual people and we're not total monsters, is when they're with shades, which has now we now understand is them just being human. So let's just have this after you've killed everyone there, and let's double fucking down on the fact that we killed a bunch of assholes. Not saying they deserved it, but let's make them look even worse so we can justify it to ourselves even more. Kainé enjoyed the solitude, but harbored a secret resentment that her grandmother was forced to spend her golden years in such a place. After watching her grandmother leave, Kainé turned her attention to the task at hand. She had never chopped wood before in her life, and soon discovered why the old woman hated the chore. Swing after swing of the axe produced only a tiny crack in the wood, and when she finally managed to connect with a solid stroke, the tool embedded itself in the log and refused to budge. Frustrated, Kainé swung the axe around her head and threw her, log and all, across the yard. Damn it! Damn it! Crap! She suddenly understood the joy her grandmother felt in a good curse. Happier now, she picked up the axe, forced it from the wood, and resumed chopping. She had a natural skill with the blade, but the task was challenging, and blisters soon began to form on her small pink hands. This is tough. My logs are all weird sizes. Spitting on her palms and ignoring the pain, Kainé redoubled her efforts. Just as she was developing a rhythm, Grandma returned from the village. Setting down her buckets with a small sigh, she took one look at the logs and coughed out a wheezy laugh. Pretty clumsy, girl. You better practice if you... Her grandmother suddenly collapsed to her knees, causing one of the buckets to wobble precariously. Eyes wide, Kainé dropped the axe and ran to her grandmother's side. Grandma! The old woman shook her head and pointed a trembling finger at the bucket. Get the bucket. Can't let it spill. Kainé steadied the bucket with her foot as she knelt by her grandmother. A small bit of water sloshed over the side and made a new home in the hem of her dress, but Kainé didn't notice. Grandma! Grandma, what's happening? Crazed with panic, she grabbed her grandmother by the shoulders and shook. After a moment, the woman lifted her arms and battered Kainé away. Stop that! Just stop now! She cried, breathing heavily. It ain't like I'm dying, just tired from the trip is all. Kainé desperately wanted to believe her, but one look at the old woman shaking hands and worn face told her more than words ever could. Her grandmother had lived a long, hard life, and it seemed the bill was coming due. That time when her grandmother watched over Kainé was ending. Sooner than either of them had feared, the positions would be reversed. The next morning, Kainé came to the side of her grandmother's bed and took her wrinkled hand. Grandma, you're sick, and you need medicine. I'm going to the village. The old woman shook her head and tried to rise, but Kainé gently pushed her down. It's all right, she said. I'll be fine. Her grandmother fixed with her gaze that could melt steel. After what seemed like an eternity, she finally lowered her eyes and sighed. Well, I don't like it, goddammit. But I guess I should quit being so stubborn and let you grow up. The old woman watched as Kainé strapped on her boots and made her way down the road to the village. Hours later, as an unseen sun made its way across the dark and rainy sky, she was still watching. Kainé moved at a brisk pace, checking her pockets every few minutes to make sure the money her grandmother gave her was still there. Every noise caused her to spin on her heels, making sure she wasn't being stalked by a shade, or worse, Demo and his gang. But she encountered neither tormentors nor shades, and Kainé finally found herself at the entrance to the village. The few adults she could see glanced sideways at her, then muttered to each other behind raised hands before slinking away into the shadows. Her heart racing, Kainé took a series of rapid, shallow breaths and tried to calm herself. I have to prove myself. I have to help Grandma. I have to be strong. She chanted those words to herself over and over as she slowly made her way. Finally, her eyes settled on a rotund old woman who was angrily waving her arms in the air and telling anyone who would listen exactly what she thought of Kainé's presence. Hey lady, said Kainé with the bravado she don't feel. Where's the apothecary? The woman's sloping cheeks shook in bewildered rage. How dare this thing speak to me, they seemed to say, but Kainé saw that her eyes held a different emotion. Fear. Yeah, we're both scared, lady. Trust me on this one. Which way? Kainé repeated. The woman pointed at a small building to her right before hitching up her dress and stumbling off in the other direction. Kainé cringed, expecting a stone to come flying from the assembled crowd, but none came. Her mind was filled with a strange sense of pride as she made her way to the apothecary. But the new emotion had little time to take root, for as soon as she opened the door, she noticed a familiar customer at the counter. It was Demo. He clearly had been sent here on some kind of family errands because his gang of followers was nowhere to be found. Oh my god. He sputtered. What are you doing here, freak? The insult was delivered without force, and Kainé happily ignored it. Stretching on tiptoes to see over the counter, she asked the shopkeeper for the medication. Ha! Barked Demo. That old bitch finally keel over? Go to hell, Demo. The boy's eyes grew so wide they seemed to ready to fall out of his head, but before he could let fly a comeback, or worse, a punch, the apothecary told them to knock it off before he kicked them out of the store. Demo slunk out of the shop, cursing Kainé under his breath. Once he was gone, she allowed herself to breathe once more, taking a brief tour of the shop while the owner prepared her medication. Countless tiny bottles filled the cramped store, each with a label written in some indecipherable language. An ocean of aromas assaulted her nose, creating a scent that was exotic but not altogether unpleasant. Seeing such a variety of supplies gave Kainé a sense of peace. Surely in a world so vast, there would be a place she could call home. On the far wall, behind the counter, rested a portrait of a stunning young girl. The picture had once contained a bright The picture had once contained bright, vibrant colors, but time had worked its magic, and they were beginning to fade. The beauty of the work, however, remains undiminished. You like that picture? Kainé turned to find the apothecary with a small vial of medicine in his hand. His eyes were gentle but sad, and they seemed to stare through her and into nothing as he spoke. That's my daughter. I sketched her when she was a little girl. She's been dead a long time now. Kainé didn't know how to respond. She just stared at the portrait and tried to come up with the right words. Pictures are wonderful things, continued the shopkeeper, to let the ones closest to you live on forever. He shook his head slightly, then looked down at Kainé and smiled. Handing her the medicine, he reached into his sizable green apron and produced a handful of old wax crayons. You should have these. There's no one left that I wish to draw. Kainé took an instinctive step back, causing the shopkeeper's face to darken. Yes, I've heard the rumors about you, he said. It's a small village, and word travels quickly. Between you and me, I'm not sure which of them to believe, but I also don't think they matter much. I knew your grandmother, Callie, and I think the way she was driven out of this town is just deplorable. Grandma's name is Callie? Thought Kainé suddenly. She was still mulling over this new fact in her mind as she reached out and gently took the crayons from the apothecary's hands. Your grandmother is an old friend of mine, he said as Kainé scooted away yet again, and I owe her much. I'm willing to wager that she would like it if you drew a picture of her. Yes, I think she would like that very much. Kainé murmured a quiet agreement, but inside her heart was bursting. Never before had a villager treated her with anything but complete contempt. It was a tiny, almost imperceptible step, but it was a step nonetheless. And with enough tiny steps, she might one day discover the rest of the world. When Kainé returned home, she found her grandmother asleep in her bed. Her feet were blackened and raw, even bleeding a bit in places, leading Kainé to think that she had been pacing around the room until exhaustion finally caught up with her. She placed the medicine by her grandmother's pillow and turned to leave, but found the old woman's hand clasped around her arm. Back already, are you? Asked her grandmother with a yawn. Come here, let me have a look at you. Grandma sat up and examined Kainé from head to toe. Finally satisfied that nothing terrible had befallen her grandchild, she leaned back and allowed herself to relax. Well, how was it? Did those bastards give you any trouble? It was kind of fun, said Kainé with a smile. No, seriously, it was. It was fun, was it? Asked her grandmother in a voice which implied she believed anything but. Uh-huh, so anytime you need me to run an errand, just let me know. As she spoke, Kainé removed the crayons from her pocket. After a brief explanation of their source, she informed her grandmother that she was going to sketch her portrait. A portrait of me? Ridiculous. No one wants to stare at a wrinkled old crone. But Grandma, it'll make you live forever. Horse manure, said her grandmother, throwing back the sheet from her bed. Living forever will just piss me off. Now put those crayons away and help with dinner. But Kainé would not relent, and in the end, Grandmother found herself leaning against the wall of their house as if posing for the master artist. Kainé took up the crayons and eyed her subject carefully. Just as her grandmother was about to nod off, Kainé finished the work. After staring at it for a bit, she released it from her grip and let it slowly drift to the floor. It's terrible. It doesn't look like you at all. I'm sorry, Grandma. All these crayons would, make drawing easy or something. The old woman's eyes narrowed at her granddaughter's disappointment. Let me be the judge of that, she said, ignoring the pain in her back and reaching for the paper. The sketch could have been a person's face. It also could have been a boulder, or a lump of clay, or an incredibly misshapen loaf of bread, all rendered in a chaotic array of colours. The old woman stared at the picture for a long time, then slowly wheezed out a laugh. Oh, Kainé, she said between laughter, you truly are my blood. You're as clumsy as me, and I love it. But, hush, I won't hear any more bull about how ugly you think it was. It came from the heart, and I'll treasure it always. True to her word, the old woman gave the picture a place of honour above the kitchen table. When we saw the wreath of flowers, that's what it was hanging on. It was hanging on the picture. Like the tiniest little details that I didn't bring up at the start of the game. I might have. I don't think I did. I think I intentionally didn't bring up details that were revealed later for these moments. But yeah, lunar wreath, why is that there? Because grandmother did. It's why she has it in her hair. And the lunar wreath is placed on the drawing that Kainé did. So you actually do get to see that drawing. Like so many little things are in like Kainé's little hut. There are things about her character that you don't learn until after you beat the game. I love it. In the days that, it's the type of thing where if you remember the early parts of the game well enough, then this is like, oh shit, awesome. And I really like that. And I also do apologize for the hiccup thing that I just did. In the days that followed, Kainé would often catch her staring at the portrait with a strange smile on her face, an action she interpreted as silent, mocking laughter. A week later, Kainé could stand it no more and asked her grandmother to take the artwork down. Posh, said the old woman. I'll take this down when they roll me in my shroud. She pondered this for a bit, then turned to Kainé and dropped to one knee. Listen to me, girl. Seeing this picture makes me happy in a way I've never felt before. And it makes me want to go on. so that someday you can feel the same happiness. It was a moment that burned itself in Kainé's memory, a perfect blend of pride and love and joy that came together to form a lifelong remembrance. She swore to never forget this moment, to never forget the old woman who had made her place in the world possible. Time moves on. People and memories come in and out of a life like ghosts passing through a hall. But this moment will be different, Kainé swore, because I will remember it forever. Forever. On to her third dream, separation, which very, very, very telling title, tragically. Kainé listened to the sound of crackling firewood and stared at the black object on her plate. She'd been pushing it around the wooden disc for a good 10 minutes, ignoring the bemused stare of her grandmother. Finally, she summoned her courage and gave the object a brief sniff. A sharp, bitter scent flew up her nostrils and made its home there, causing her face to twist with disgust. "Grandma, I can't believe you want me to eat a bug." The old woman threw some more wood under the cooking pot and snorted. "It's no bug, you fool girl, it's a berry. Why the hell would I be feeding you bugs?" "Yeah, well, it sure looks like a bug, and I think it's burnt or something because it smells terrible." With that, Kainé held her nose and threw the berry in her mouth, chewing as little as possible. "Oh yeah, that's terrible, alright." "Why, you little brat," laughed the old woman. "Look at the sass on you. You've been spending too much time with me, and that's a fact." 5 years had passed since the moment when Kainé's grandmother saved her from the bullies. As often is the way with two stubborn people, their relationship had grown in fits and starts, but moved forward all the same. Meals that used to be somber affairs were now filled with laughter and hurled abuse in equal measure. Kainé could not remember a time when she had been happier. As the years went by, Kainé started to shoulder more and more of the daily responsibilities. Her grandmother's legs grew weaker by the day, and she could no longer do many of the chores she used to take for granted. And so this morning found Kainé lacing up her work boots with a breakfast of burned berry rolling through her belly. Words are getting hard for me. There's so many B words there. Breakfast, burned berry rolled through her belly. And boots, too. Oh, where are you going today? Asked Grandma suddenly. Kainé looked up, surprised. The old woman rarely asked for specifics anymore. "Well, I was going to check out the kelma trees and see if they were ripe. I thought we could make some jam or something. Oh, I'm going to pick up some flagstones, so I need to take the wheelbarrow." "Flagstones? What the hell for?" Kainé said to her grandmother and then held out and swept it around the home. Constructed mostly of cloth, rope, and rubble, the old place acted like a boxer in the final rounds. "Grandma, a dying cat could chew through this house. I'm going to build a stone wall so we have some protection." The old woman laughed, exposing her toothless grin to the world. "Goddamn girl, if a bunch of thieves want to ransack this whole place, let them come. We got nothing worth stealing anyway." "Not worried about thieves, I'm worried about shades. People saw one west of the village yesterday." The old woman tilted her head and said to her granddaughter, "Well, shoot, I don't know why you have to do it today. We can worry about some other." "Grandma, no. If I don't go to that kelma tree, we won't eat tonight. You know that." A confused expression passed across the old woman's face, and for a moment she was a small child lost at a carnival. "Yes," she said after a bit. "Yes, of course you're right. I'm sorry, Kainé. Lately it seems my mind is..." She didn't finish the thought, instead walking over to her nightstand and gently taking the wreath of lunar tears from the drawer. The flower petals had aged to a brilliant whiteness, and Kainé thought it was more beautiful now than the day she first received it. "You're going to be a true woman soon," Grandma said as she placed the flowers in her girl's hair. "So that means less chatter about shades and building defensive walls, and more talking about how beautiful you've become." Annoyed, Kainé reached up to remove the garland, but the look on her grandmother's face stopped her hand. "You're a beautiful thing," said the old woman, "and there ain't another like you in all the world. I'm very proud of you." "Okay, Grandma, that's enough goddamn compliments for one day. Such a mouth on you. Where'd that come from?" "Gee, I wonder." "I'll teach you to sass me, girl," yelled Grandma. Suddenly, she lurched forward and grabbed Kainé by the ears, pulling her around the room with a crazed grin on her face. "Grandma!" yelled Kainé in a quaking voice. "Grandma, stop it! What the hell?" The old woman stared at her and blinked, then slowly held her wrinkled hands out as she was the first time she had ever seen them. "Oh, I don't know what happened there. I'm sorry, girl. Sometimes my mind just..." Kainé thought the look on her grandmother's face was the most heartbreaking thing she'd ever seen. "Listen," she began. "Maybe I should stay home after all." "I won't have you stay here to keep an eye on an old codger like me. You go get your fruit and your wall and whatnot. I'll be fine. And when you come back, I'll have a nice grasshopper dinner waiting for you." Kainé rolled her eyes and kissed her grandmother on the forehead and made ready to depart, trying desperately to ignore the worry that was gnawing at the walls of her heart. Kainé could feel the old woman's eyes watching her as she moved down the path. Don't turn around, she told herself, but in the end the temptation was too great. She spun her heel for one final look and saw a small, bent woman standing in front of a ramshackle hut with a sad expression on her face. God, she looks so old now. It's like the wind could just reach down and just carry her away. Kainé worried about her grandmother all day, causing her work to suffer. What little fruit she could collect was tossed carelessly into the wheelbarrow, and she found only a couple of stones before losing interest in the project. Finally, as dusk approached, she decided to call it a day. Cursing herself for the lack of focus, Kainé pushed the near-empty wheelbarrow back down the path. As she crested the final hill, she suddenly froze in place. The wheelbarrow fell from her fingers and collapsed onto its side, sending a few pieces of wrinkled brown fruit rolling back down the hill. Her gaze was transfixed by a thick black cloud that hovered just ahead. Tracing its path with a finger, Kainé suddenly felt her stomach knot on its stomach. Oh gods, no! Her grandmother's house was ablaze, the flames licking up as if trying to touch the skies up. Grandma? Grandma! Kainé ran then, faster than she'd ever moved in her life. Once she tripped on a stone when sprawling onto the rocky ground, but she leapt to her feet and continued running, unmindful of the blood that spilled from her wounds, hands and knees. As she got closer and closer, Kainé's mind began to race in time with her footfalls. It's too dark, not just fire, can't be fire. Too much smoke, gotta save her. She burst into a front yard and came to a sudden halt, her worst suspicions confirmed. The smoke from the fire was mingling with the thick, inky blackness of an enormous shade. The massive creature supported itself on 3 twisted feet, and achieved balance through means of a large armored tail. Scales, horns, and claws sprouted from its body in a random, chaotic pattern, giving it the appearance of a lizard designed by some insane god. Seeing Kainé, it let out a roar and flicked its tail, sending small whirlwinds spinning around the yard. For a moment, the creature retreated into a shimmering, inky blackness, as if her mind was unable to comprehend that such a thing could actually exist. But then a smell hit her, a blend of rotted meat and excrement, and the horror became real once more. This creature bellowed again, and this time Kainé responded with a scream of her own. Alright, you bastard, she thought as her scream echoed off the high cliffs around them. It's you or me. Let's go! The shade eyed Kainé with bemused interest. Then it began looking from her to the house and back again, as if urging her to look at the destruction it had so gleefully wrought. With dread building in her heart, Kainé glanced towards the house. Through the smoke and flame, she spotted a small figure struggling to escape the ruins. Grandma! At the sound of her voice, the old woman began waving frantically. She's alive, thought Kainé. She's alive! Kainé's legs sprang to life as she raced across the yard toward the flaming wreckage of the house. Before she could advance more than a few steps, the shade opened its mouth and let out a roar powerful enough to uproot trees and send them flying. The blast sent Kainé tumbling through the air before smashing her against the rocky earth. Stars danced in front of her eyes as she tried to remember how her legs worked. Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up now! As Kainé struggled to her feet, the shade stomped toward the house and pinned her grandmother to the ground with the tip of a claw. The old woman struggled to move the claw from her stomach, but she might as well have been pushing a mountain. She coughed briefly, sending a small spray of blood into the air, then collapsed to the ground, her energy spent. Kainé lurched to her feet only to fall back to earth with a gasp. Her ankles were on fire, one or both of them were surely broken. Ignoring the pain that screamed through her body, she began dragging herself across the ground, leaving a drunken trail of dust and blood in her wake. Grandma, hold on. Just a little longer. The grandmother's face was turning blue, her eyes rolling back until only the whites were exposed. Kainé pulled herself across the ground with maddening slowness, the distance seeming to increase with every second that passed. The shade glanced between the two women and flicked out its tongue, its dry mouth turning up at the corners. Short, panting breaths belched from somewhere deep inside its core. Bastard, laughing at us. She had no idea how such a mindless creature could experience emotion, but there could be no doubt that the shade was taking joy in their suffering. Yeah, I see your plan. The shade moved its claw slightly, allowing Grandma to breathe again. It was clearly keeping her alive only to snuff out her life when Kainé was close enough to touch her. I'm gonna kill this bastard. Summoning all of her strength, Kainé rose to her feet. There was a sickening snap from her right ankle as the foot twisted backward, but she forced it from her mind and began to hobble toward the monster. Pulling a small knife from the pouch at her waist, she leapt onto the foot that pinned her grandmother and plunged the weapon deep. Give her back! Give her back to me! It was like stabbing a rock. After a few swipes, the knife broke at the hilt with a dull snap. The shade panted laughter again, then raised its tail and sent it rushing through the air toward the young girl that was lashed to its foot. Kainé never had a chance. The tail struck her square in the chest and sent her crashing into the burning wreckage of the home. As she lay on the ground with blood pouring from multiple wounds, a small weak voice spoke up. Kainé. Kainé's vision blurred, but she forced herself to focus on the sound. Finally, her eyes cleared enough for her to make out her grandmother's hand reaching out to her through the smoke. Grandma! Kainé, you gotta run. You can't defeat him. Kainé grabbed their hands and held on with all her strength. Grandma, come on, we have to go. The old woman coughed loudly. One of her hands, slick with blood, slipped from Kainé's grasp and thumped into the ground below. Grandma, no! No! I said run, goddammit. You have to live. You have to get through. The thought would stay forever unfinished. Before she could say another word, the shade's claw descended, smashing through the remains of the roof and down upon the shattered figure of the old woman. Blood oozed thickly from the gaps in the creature's toes as the terrible putrid smell assaulted Kainé's nose once again. She stared at the foot, dumbfounded, convinced that what she was seeing could not possibly be real. When the creature finally lifted up its appendage, all that remained underneath was a twisted, unrecognizable mass of rubble and red. Her grandmother was gone. Kainé blinked, trying to feel the hands which had been in hers just a moment before. For a fleeting instant, she could remember the warmth of that embrace, the trembling of the fingers, but then the sensation drifted away on the breeze and was gone. Memories flashed through Kainé's mind, one after the other, faster and faster, until they became a meaningless jangle of noise. Kainé screamed then, a thunderous sound that echoed off the cliffs and seemed to roll away forever. The shade eased forward, black ichor pouring through its mouth and dissolving into smoke on the ground below. The earth shook with every step as it crept toward its prey. Kainé's body slowly rose as if controlled by a mad puppet master. Her arms and legs were bent at impossible angles, her head lolled dangerously to the side, yet somehow she managed to stand. Staring at the shade, her eyes began to glow with a deep red fire. The creature, so confident just moments before, took a slow, hesitant step backward, trying to discern if this broken human could possibly pose a threat. Kainé seized the moment. Laughing like a madwoman, she leapt into the air and plunged the shattered hilt of her knife deep into the leg of the shade. The shade shook Kainé off like a fly, sending her crashing to the earth once again. Her chest rose and fell slowly, as if a great weight were resting on it. Moist sounds of pain echoed through her mind. Something warm and thick oozed from her ears. Is that blood? Think it is. Think I'm bleeding to death. No, can't die. Grandma told me to live. Deep inside Kainé's mind, something finally broke. The sound, the pain, the smoke, and the flames. All of it faded away until all that remained was a single incantation repeated over and over again. Kill it, 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 kill it! Kill it now! I forgot how many times she was chanting kill it in her mind. As the spark that was Kainé slowly began to flicker and die, she felt her desire to kill and her desire to live blend into one. The distance between heartbeats grew longer and longer and longer. And then Kainé comes back to life. Tits first. Hi, Kainé. And of course the shade is still here. Still gotta deal with this fucker.
The beast approaches.
Oh, I got it.
I'll explain a couple things about the story in a second. Because the story's not over. After we kill the beast, we get more, I believe. Yeah, we do. After we kill this, we still get more, yeah. They just didn't want to give us too much text in a row, so they did have to take a break at some point. Okay, hi there, buddy. How are you? Well, we are 100% in New Game Plus territory here, so fuck it. Just gonna go for the Phoenix Spear. Because kill this thing in a single hit. I mean, we already killed this thing really easily before in the 5 years that we got stronger. But yeah, let's just embarrass every single boss
This creature must
ludicrously easily now.
survive these past 5 years.
I'm not gonna let this happen again. He dies in a day.
There we go.
My soul feels lighter.
It's not the blade. Will the strike him down.
Hi there. Oh. Hey, buddy. Oh my god. New Game Plus. I mean, I was already like fucking up the things at the end of the game with this Phoenix Spear. So let's just fuck them up even more in New Game Plus mode. Because in New Game Plus, enemies do not get tougher in this game. I'm gonna check the shit out of you. I'm gonna check you so much with my big hands. My face is being contorted. Fuck you. Snap its neck. I mean, that boss is meant to be easy when you come back here, because it's meant to be 5 years again, like, of you training, and then it feels way easier to defeat it than the first time where you had to struggle so much to even try and hurt it. Kainé's dream encounter. I feel like they had to break it up a little bit to, like, give us a little bit of a break from all the reading, so they just put that bit there. Gently, weakly, softly. The shade, sure that its tormentor was dead, turned and stomped off toward the horizon, stopping along the way to bellow one final roar. Couldn't kill it. Sorry, Grandma. Couldn't avenge you. Shamed beyond imagining, Kainé tried to turn her head to the side, but only succeeded in coughing up a huge gout of blood. It was getting difficult to see, and only after a moment of fierce concentration did she realize that her left eye was gone. Laughing to herself, she turned her remaining eye to the ruins of her home and noticed a ragged stump of arm resting a few feet away. Yeah, that's mine, she thought with a mad giggle. This is gonna make clapping a real bitch. Ha! Cried a sudden voice from the depths of her mind. Finally gonna die, are ya? Well, you had it coming. Go to hell, Demo, she thought in an unseen assailant. Go to hell before I pluck out your eyes and feed them to a dog. The voice of her childhood terror evaporated into a smoke, only to be replaced by another, more recent voice. Hold still, said the Apothecary, materializing from the ruins like a ghost. I want to draw you, that way you can live forever. No, stop. Don't want to live forever. Want to die right here. I see, he said quietly. Well, if that's how you want it. The spectral shopkeeper floated in and out of existence for a moment, then produced a piece of paper and sketched quickly. After a few seconds, he turned the page to Kainé and smiled. Since you rejected my offer, I decided to draw someone else. It was a picture of her grandmother, real as life. Kainé opened her mouth to thank the man, but stopped as the picture began to blacken in the middle. Before she could say anything, thousands of multi-legged insects began to swarm across the image, tearing at it with sharpened pincers. Don't hurt the picture! Kainé reached out with her remaining arm and waved futilely at the air. To her surprise, the insects fell off the picture and to the ground below, where they vanished into tiny black tendrils of smoke. Relieved, Kainé turned her good eye back to the picture, only to open her mouth in a silent scream. The sketch now showed her grandmother as she truly was, a smashed, unrecognizable slump of nothing. The Apothecary smiled, then broke into a jolly dance. See that? He cried as he danced his jig. It's perfect now. She looks just like you. Ha cha cha cha. I look like that? Oh god. Oh god, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. Drowning in despair, Kainé laid her head back in the mud and smoke of her ruined house and waited for the ends to come. But just before she let everything go, an unfamiliar voice began whispering in her ear. Ain't you got a wish, sunshine? The voice was vulgar and fierce at the same time, as if insanity had somehow found a way to take form. Kainé wanted to scream as the voice crawled under her skin, but her lungs refused to work. You know, a wish, like a prayer or something. Why don't you get on your knees and start praying to heaven? Please, invisible man in the sky, save me, save me! Kainé finally resorted to shouting at the voice with her own mind. I don't make wishes, they don't come true for me. I'm a curse, a freak, I should be left to die. The other voice boomed in her ears. Oh god, you are the best! Kainé glanced down and saw a black shiny substance oozing from her legs. She tried to brush it away, but her remaining arm would no longer respond. The substance slowly crept around her feet, and then began moving up and toward the rest of her body. Is this death? Is this what it's like? Or is my mind just losing itself? She could feel the slime oozing upward, feel the hot searing pain it left in its wake. Whatever else might be happening, she was alive, and this was real. Come on, said the voice, let it go. Kainé tried to ignore the voice and concentrate on the pain, but the newcomer would have none of it. Don't ignore me, sunshine. You're ready to give up, ready to die, so why not let me have it? Have what? Your body! Come on, give it to me! Give it to me! I want to stand on the ground, feel the rain, taste the wind! The voice paused, as if licking its lips. When it resumed, it was filled with a mad, unabated joy. And I want to take your hands and use them to choke the goddamn life out of people. I want to tear their throats out and bathe in the blood, just like before. And in response, Kainé shifted her head and vomited. The warmth of it crept down her front and mingled with the pain of the encroaching black ooze. Are you a shade? Haha! Yeah, maybe. What of it? The slime reached her face, crept up past her nose, and slowly oozed into the socket of her missing eye. The moment it touched her brain, Kainé was struck by the most powerful sensation she ever felt in her life. It was ecstasy. She wanted to scream with delight, but all she could manage was a small, whispered moan. Feels good, don't it? Asked the voice with a chuckle. Yeah, what can I say? I know how to please the ladies. Now give me that body. Come on. Give me the body and I'll give you more of this feeling. It's a fair trade. A black lump began to protrude from Kainé's side. As she watched, it grew longer and thicker, eventually taking the form of her missing arm. I can see it, she thought. My eye must be growing back too. The slime reached up to envelop the rest of her face, but she managed to brush it away. Stop, she whispered, marveling at how she had regained her voice. Stop. The black ooze hesitated, as if considering this request, then quickly shimmered down her body before disappearing in a cloud of smoke. Ah, what the hell, sunshine, screamed the voice. We had a deal, I thought you wanted to die. Grandma said I can't die yet. A brief image of her grandmother, bloodied and broken, flashed before her eyes. She saw the shade that had killed her and heard its mocking laughter, then closed her eyes and forced the image from her mind. Her whole body was quaking with rage. When she opened her eyes again, they burned bright red. That thing took my grandmother. I have to kill it before I die. Kainé glanced down and saw a mysterious pattern, the pattern of the shades, burned into her left arm. Well, I'll be damned, said the voice cheerily. Look at that, Sunshine. I think you and me are going to be good friends now. Kainé stared intently at her arm. The more emotional she felt, the more the letters seemed ready to puncture her skin and began infecting the rest of her body. The arm clearly had a will of its own. Stop. Gotta stop. Holding her left arm in her right, Kainé took a deep breath and tried to calm herself. Come on, don't fight it, pleaded the voice. It's my favorite dish and I'm hungry. Let it go. Feel the anger burn with the fire of revenge. Thirst for blood. Then go out there and shut up, and get the hell out of my body. Ha! Your body? Oh, that's rich, Sunshine. Real rich. Look, why don't you just up and die so I can have this body all to myself? Why do you say? I bet those boys of yours in the area would love to see you dead. Kainé grabbed a nearby shard of glass and tried to saw off the shade-infected portion of her side. Before she could, her darkened left arm grabbed her right wrist, crushing it. Kainé screamed and dropped to the shard as the sound of bone crunching on bone filled the air. Ha! Stupid idiot girl, you're possessed now, Sunshine, and there ain't no going back. The voice laughed again, a long, loud wail that seemed to go on without end. Possessed, whispered Kainé. Yeah, possessed. You and me? We got what you might call a timeshare arrangement. Remember how folks used to think you were a freak? Well, wait till they get a load of you now! Kainé looked up, tears in her eyes. The sky seemed smaller somehow. Darker. Is this because of that shade? Is this how they see the world? So, listen. I know this whole possession thing seems a bit sudden, but it ain't all bad. There's plenty in it for you, too. I'm a very powerful creature, Sunshine, and now that power belongs to you. You got enemies? People you want to kill? I can make it happen. The little fat kid who keep picking on you? That big old shade to squash your granny? We'll wrap them up in their own assholes. No more abuse for you, Sunshine. No more pain. Wait, said Kainé. You're a shade. Why would you help me kill another shade? Why, you think I'm some kind of racist? Some killing snob? I don't give a goddamn who you murder, honey pants. I just want to drink from the well. That is great. Kainé considered this as she struggled to her feet, the power of the shade coursing through her. The smoke from her house was drifting away with the wind, and she enjoyed the way the cool evening breeze felt on her new left arm. After a long pause, the voice spoke up again. So, how about it? You and me, we could have some good times together. Look, I'll even take care of the bloody part if you don't want. Fuck off, asshole, muttered Kainé. I'll handle the killing. Look at you go. Oh, Sunshine, we're gonna have so much fun. So listen, my name's Tyrion, and if you ever need me, I'll just be hanging out in this piece of meat you call a heart. Now get to it. The more you kill, the more your heart turns rotten and sour, and I like it rotten and sour. Kainé found herself nodding at the voice. Yeah, I think this can work. I'm gonna find that shade, and I'm gonna strangle it with its own guts. And when I'm done, I'm gonna do the same to you, Tyrion. Count on it. Ha! I got shit bigger than you, so good luck with that. Oh, and hey, one more thing. Right now, you and me are sharing this buddy. If you ever run out of hate, if you ever, go soft, then I'm gonna take over everything. So keep on killing, Sunshine, and watch your back. The voice grew fainter and gradually faded away, fading somewhere deep inside Kainé herself. Kainé waited until she was sure the voice was gone. Then it waved her new left arm around a few times. Feels perfectly normal, she thought. It feels like mine. Desperately, she began poking and prodding at the new limb, determined to find something wrong with it. She didn't want to feel normal. That would mean the creature inside her had already won. I am not a shade, I am Kainé. Repeating this mantra in her mind, she slowly began digging through the rubble of her house, being careful to ignore a certain red-stained spot in the corner. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity of heartbreaking work, she found what she was looking for. It was the wreath of lunar tears. Though it had been through hell and back, the garland's petals were as bright as ever. Kainé started to place it in her hair, then slowly lowered the wreath and stared at it. I'm sorry, Grandma. I'm so sorry. But I don't deserve to wear this anymore. I'm possessed, corrupted, a freak. And this time, I don't think there's any going back. Holding the flowers to her heart, Kainé fell to the ground and sobbed. As night gradually lightened the dawn and the people of the area rose to their daily lives, she remained in that position, as if tears could somehow wash away the horror that now infected her world.
Alive. Stay
Educated warrior! That's what we get. A trophy we get for reading!
Grandma?
Kainé, you gotta live. You gotta come back to us.
Not quite grandma, but close. The second time in the game where Kainé's been close to death, and has been brought back by people talking to her. Remember after we fought the boss in the area? That happened too. And she's back! Yay! Looks away.
Emil, you were the one calling me, huh?
You still recognize me?
Yeah, sure. I knew you right away.
Thank you. Kainé.
And now Kainé having such a soft spot for Emil makes a lot more sense. Because Kainé hates his body, hates his curse, hate that he's a freak. And he relents on that a lot. No wonder Kainé relates so much with him. And why she's able to recognize him immediately. Also the voice.
Oh. That's a long time.
Real long time, yeah.
Any luck with Yonah?
We are still no closer to finding her. We need a way to locate the Shadow Lord.
This is for you.
Lunar tears. Did you make this?
See, in canon he did
Just
grow
a
them.
little welcome back gift. Not much, I know.
She really likes
It's
it.
nothing like the one Grandma used to make. Oh, hell. Thanks.
Excuse me.
We did it. We freed Kainé.
The fucking whole... You know what Poplar and Devil's deal is? And also, look at this.
Listen, can I talk to you for a minute?
The fact that it's just like, Kainé's alive, we did it! And Poplar just immediately sandbags it so hard. It's like, fuck you.
This doesn't make sense.
They're back! Now get them the fuck out of the village.
Try to understand. People are tired and scared, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry you have to bear the brunt of that.
Again, Poplar and Devil do legitimately care about NieR. They said they didn't want to do it. They wanted to wait until the next generation of replicants to do the whole thing at the end of the game.
It's crap.
It's crap.
It's okay. We can sleep outside.
No one's sleeping outside. You and Kainé saved this village, and now they want to run you out?
People are afraid of us. And really, I understand. I mean, look at me. As long as you're still with us, I can deal with it. Right, Kainé?
I'm used to sleeping outside.
I mean, like, the line had poignance before because you knew she was exiled from the area, but now they just like, oh yeah, she slept outside in that shack because a whole bunch of villagers thought that she was a freak, and now the exact same thing is happening again.
Sorry.
We'll see you later.
We're sorry.
And with great timing... Oh, no, it's not now. It's when we go to
What
sleep.
is the matter?
Kainé always sleeps outside. I never thought about that until just now. How could I have not noticed that? How selfish am I?
Oh, very.
What the hell is wrong with me?
He questions this now and then doesn't change and still kills a shitload of
We
people
should
later
turn
on.
in.
And now we get NieR's dialogue. Very poignant now that we're getting this part at the end of the game. I wanted to blame Devil for everything. I wanted to grab Poplar and strangle her. Oh, getting this right after you realize the actual truth. Oh, anger won't accomplish anything. They said and did what they did for the sake of the village. For the sake of protecting it from the horrifying threat of the Shades. Yep, that's what they did. If Devil and Poplar are to blame. then I am equally at fault. The thing that he refuses to accept at the end of the game. Well, something to think about other people. If Delver and Poplar are to blame, then I'm equally at fault for not thinking about other people. Something he doesn't properly do fully at the end of the game when he still refuses to understand the Shadow Lord. Ah, NieR, you keep getting so close to realizing that you're a shit person, and then you keep turning away from that. Yay for the hero. Sure. Well, if you say so, need to go see Devler and Poplar. Very well. Okay, so that is back to this part of the game. And now we continue the game till we get to the end again. Moonflower seeds, and I can grow a bunch of lunatics. And 900 gold. That matters a lot to a millionaire. So, a couple things I will just explain about Kainé's story. One, fuck, Kainé's such a good character. Oh my god, she's the best character in this game. Oh, well, she's my favorite. She's my favorite character in the whole game. She's so fucking good. Oh my god. Her characterization and her backstory, everything. Oh, it's so fucking good. Okay, and also the way that story's laid out, I love the way that it's done, because you know from the first time that you meet Kainé, she's a shade. Where, like, when you first look her out, and Weiss is just like, oh, this woman's half shade. Interesting. And then you get that, where it's just like all the villagers are calling her a freak and a weird person. And then it's just like, oh yeah, fucking being asked just because she's half a shade. And then she was not a shade then. So, and if you've played this game before and you know about it, you might know it. But here's the thing about Kainé. She's intersex. She has male genitals. I don't know how far, like, I don't know if she has both or just male or anything, but yeah, she is intersex. As a result of the Gestalt process and making new replicants every single time, she became intersex as a result of that system not, like, having errors as it goes on. Like, her original Gestalt wasn't intersex, but over time errors occurred in the system and she ended up becoming intersex. So when all the villagers are hating her and calling her a freak, it's because she's intersex, because people are awful people. And that's why, and there's one line in the beginning part that gives that gives a hint to that. The only way that you know she's intersex is if you read Grimoire NieR, like a side book to this, or you read interviews. But yeah, the whole thing is just, the only hint that you get that that's the reason in that whole thing is, why are you dressing like a girl? And it's because they're all assholes and saying that it's like, you're a freak, you're like intersex and you're fucked up, you should be dressed as a boy because you're a boy and everything like that. And yeah, and that is why she calls herself a freak. The way that her personality is because of her grandma, aggressive, loudmouth, everything like that. Why she has such a revealing sense of clothing, like why half her ass is hanging out, and why she's got like so much cleavage, tit windows, and like showing so much skin, is because that is part of her being, I'm a woman, fuck you. Like that's her whole thing. I believe that specific part's explaining Grimoire NieR. It says she dresses so provocatively to be very apparent to other people and herself that she's just like, I'm a woman, and if you think otherwise, fuck you, which is very much how she would actually respond. And she has the bandages on that one half of her body because it's shade. There is no kind, like it's not just like that, oh, part of me is the shade, so I'll cover that. It's just, she actually doesn't have that arm anymore. It is shade. I believe it does look like her arm under it, but that's the arm and leg and everything that she lost when she was attacked. So she covers that up. She doesn't cover one of her eyes for that, but that would just be annoying. So there's that. So yeah, that is Kainé's backstory, explaining a hell of a lot more about like the way that she acts throughout the game, and does explains her characterization and why she feels for Emil so strongly, because she was called a freak because of her body, and then she called herself a freak later on for being half a shade, and why she hates shade so much, and why when that shade started attacking us near her house, she was just like, back off, this one is mine, because that is the one that fucking kills her grandmother. And when it turns around in the village later on and pretends to be her, it's because that particular shade is a fucking cunt. It's just a dick. yes, all of the shades are human, but it doesn't mean that every single human was good. In fact, a lot of them were bad. And some of them turn into giant fucking lizard monsters who take enjoyment in killing other things. Or Tyrion, who agrees to help Kainé because of fucking wanting to kill people. And also when Kainé dies in the scene that we're about to have coming up, and why she's able to survive, like, being pretty much killed multiple times throughout this. Main one being the spear going through her, but then being cut down in the area. The reason she's able to survive all that is because the Shade's able to bring her back to life from each of those. And that's what constantly happens. I mean, she lost her fucking arm and leg from it, so her being impaled in the chest, yeah, the Shade can bring her back to life from that. Tyrion can help with that. So that is a very long sequence with very, very little combat, but a lot of explaining Kainé's backstory. And we will continue through this playthrough, which all we're doing for this playthrough is getting the keys. We don't even have to go down to Emil's lab and do the weird perspective thing, because that already happened, because that's how Emil turned into what he is now. So all we've got to do is go do the 5 keys, and continue sticking around for that, because it said this playthrough was from Kainé's perspective. That hasn't finished. We are still going to continue seeing things from Kainé's perspective as we go through and defeat the last, like, 40% of this game again. So stay tuned for those, because we're still going to be getting new story and new backstory and new characterization and everything. Because New Game Plus doesn't change the difficulty of enemies, doesn't change the enemies. They're just as difficult as they were before, but it gives you new story shit. So hell yeah, that is one hell of a New Game Plus. So on the next episode, we'll go speak to Dev and Pops and everything like that. And we'll start again on our quest to find the Shadow Lord. So, until then, this is version 2, signing out.